Welcome, Acolytes. Today, or right now, I'm reacting to Count Dankula 2, Electric Boogaloo. Yes, this is his actual name, so there it is. He basically does some messages, not messages, daily information that are spread out. And today I actually need something positive to hear. Be it in a way that I actually didn't expect, but hey, it is what it is, I guess. I'm gonna take it. Glasgow child abuse gang given life sentence. Good. That's positive to me. Let's just hear what the man has to say about it.
Look, a grooming gang, but a white one. That's why I'm covering it. It's not often you see them. But yeah, I think this is the satanic one. And just as we do before, if this article starts going in way too much detail, I'm skipping. Glasgow child sex abuse gang given life sentences. That's fantastic.
Good, by the way.
And they're going to have
Very
a great time inside. Please be Berlini. Please be Berlini that they get sent to. The 7 members of one of Scotland's biggest child sex abuse rings have been given lifelong sentences and warned that they may never be released. 3 victims under the age of 13 were subjected to horrific sexual abuse and violence in a Glasgow drug den dubbed the Beastie House over a 7-year period. For those that don't know, in Scotland, if you're called a beast, it means you're a paedophile. But it can mean a bunch of different things. It can mean like you're a wife beater, you're a rapist, blah, blah, blah. Basically, beast is a term that you don't want to be labelled as in prison. Which is why I find it quite funny when you see big, massive guys like lifting at the gym and the guy goes, "Oh yeah, I'm a fucking beast." And you're like, okay.
If you don't know why, well, you basically shorten your lifespan a bit.
Alright then, big guy. That's why how Eddie Hall has the beast tattooed on his arms. I'm kind of... Alright. I understand that's not what it means in England, but still, hearing that in Scotland, yeah. Police said the children had suffered unimaginable abuse, and the offences included rape, attempted murder, and assault.
Well,
nice. Full names and ages. I'm going to read all these out. Ian Owens, 46, Elaine Lannery, 40, Leslie Williams, 43, Paul Brannan, 42, Scott Forbes, 51, Barry Watson, 48, and John Clark, 49, were jailed for between 8 and 20 years and handed orders for lifelong restrictions. Yeah, again, for those that don't know, a life sentence in Scotland is not a life sentence. It's about 20 years.
Same in Germany. Yeah, basically a scam. I mean, for F's sake, if you do irreparable damage to someone to that degree, just get the fucker out of society. For F's sake.
These orders are reserved for the most serious court cases in Scotland, which do not involve murder, and mean the individual will either be in prison or on parole for the rest of their life. Judge Lord Beckett told the gang, whose jail sentences totaled more than 93 years, that they may never be released from prison. He said, "This court is used to hearing the worst examples of human behaviour, but such depravity towards young children is beyond my experience. This is not typical behaviour, and such extreme abuse of children seems to be rare." He praised the formidable strength of the children and their courage and perseverance despite threats from Owens. Lord Beckett added, "It is possible to imagine from their desperate darkness, their carers have brought some light to their young lives. A home, a structure, and nurture over a number of years." The judge also highlighted the victim impact statements, which said one child wrote with agonising articulacy about her ordeal and the suffering of the other children. He added, in stark contrast to what was inflicted on her and its impact, an impression of innate humanity shines through her words. Warning this article, okay. Remember how I've said many times that my mum and dad used to do foster care, and whenever we get a child in, I would have to read the file, and then it got to a point where I just stopped reading the file.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, if this starts doing that, we're not doing it. 2 girls and a boy were violently and sexually assaulted on multiple occasions between 2000...
And by the way, because I have to interrupt him, because why isn't he actually saying the names of the victims? It has a very good reason. Because if you read about any victim of such things, or any other thing, this person will be forever known as the victim of the thing that happened. That's why this is the reason, or the one of the main reasons, why I think that people who actually do a permanent damage to you should also be caged in permanently. Because this will follow the victims their entire effing lives. And they don't deserve it.
2012 and 2019. The trial held that the gang would hold rape nights. It's all fucking ready already, and dance and sex nights in a squalid flat in Glasgow that was frequented by drug users. A girl was raped. Right, okay, no. We're not doing that. She described the flat as the dark and scary beastie house because she'd been locked in a cupboard with a box that was full of spiders. The girl was also shut in an oven and a fridge and forced. Right. Okay, we're not doing that. But the allegations of violence and sexual abuse did not come to light until March 2020. Police were alerted by a man who had got to know the children. One of the victims became hysterical when she mistakenly thought she had been shut in a room. The man and his wife then documented details of what the children recalled happening at the hands of the gang. Jurors were told Owens, Lannery, Williams, Watson, Clark and Forbes, just making sure we get those names out there, who was known as Scott the cameraman. Oh my god. All had previous convictions, but none were for any type of sex crime. The gang had denied the charges, but were found guilty in November 2023 after a 2-month trial at the High Court in Glasgow. Owens, Lannery, Brannan and Williams were found guilty of attempted murder. Charges relating to causing the children to take part in seances and witchcraft were dropped during the trial, so it was the satanic one. Right, so I don't know, maybe it was made up or something and it was just exaggerated, but who knows. Sentencing had been delayed until now because of delays in risk assessments, which were ordered to help Lord Beckett decide whether to impose the lifelong restriction orders. Owens was jailed for at least 20 years before he can apply for parole, Lannery for 17 years, Brannan for 15 years, and Williams for 14 years. Clark was sentenced to at least 10 years, Watson to 9 years and 6 months, and Forbes to 8 years. Another woman, 40-year-old Marianne Gallagher, was convicted of one account of assault to injury, but was cleared of all other charges. Her sentencing was initially deferred for 12 months for good behaviour and returned to court on 6 January this year. She was spared further punishment and admonished by Lord Beckett after he heard Gallagher had not offended over the last year. After the sentencing, Detective Inspector Leslie Ann McGee, sorry, I've still got a bit of this flu, said it had been a long, complex and challenging investigation and that she hoped the outcome could help the young victims move forward. She also urged anyone who has been affected by abuse to contact Police Scotland, no matter how much time had passed. Colin Anderson, independent chair of Glasgow's Child Protection Committee, said the case would now be the subject of a case learning review. He said this would be led by an independent expert and feature input from agencies, individuals and families. Mary Glasgow, chief executive at Children First, said no sentence would reflect the extreme cruelty and horrifying abuse that the children experienced.
Correctly.
She added, the depths of their suffering will be unimaginable to most people in Scotland, but none of us should turn away from it. This is one of the most extreme cases of abuse ever seen in a Scottish court, but every day children and young people in Scotland are experiencing violence and abuse. Fucking my nose, man. What is an order for lifelong restriction? Leading KC Tommy Ross said orders for lifelong restrictions are reserved for the most serious court cases that do not involve murder. Before an order is imposed, the subject must undergo an extensive risk assessment process conducted by psychologists, which typically takes about 12 weeks. The judge then sets a minimum prison term known as the punishment part that the offenders must serve before they are eligible to apply for parole. And if granted parole, they are subject to recall back to prison in the event that they commit any new offences or breach the terms of their release. Mr. Ross told BBC Scotland News, essentially when you get an order for lifelong restriction, you will either be in prison or parole for the rest of your natural life. On 2023, a total of 18 OLRs were imposed in courts across Scotland. Now, just going to skip all the way back up there. There's all the faces of all the disgusting junkie bastards that took part in this. And I'm thinking they probably get sent to Barrel, and if they've been sent to Barrel, they are going to have a hell of a time. They are going to have a hell of a time in prison when they're in there. But still, Disgusting pieces of human waste, demonic. Now,
Correctly.
these were the people that apparently the witchcraft stuff all get dropped, but apparently there was a bunch of satanic stuff happening in there. Isn't it weird how all that stuff seems to go hand in hand, and it's always the same kind of people? Have you noticed that? I've noticed that.
Hey, it is what it is. I'm gonna be honest, I am actually a bit unhappy that they didn't get real lifetime. But in the end of the day, I really hope that the people that are in those, let's just say, prisoned thingy bobs in the prisons will exactly know what they did, and with a high probability they won't make it out acolytes. It might be cruel to wish someone for a thing like this, but at this point, acolytes, my humanity, I just don't have any humanity left for those kinds of people. I don't care. But as I said at the start, at least the positive messaging here is that they got caught. So they get excluded from our society, at least for a while, maybe permanent with a bit of luck. And they cannot do any gigantic harm anymore, at a bare minimum for the time where they are in prison. But as it is, acolytes, good night.